I just want to give a quick little update on how my meet went last weekend to go along with the videos that I'll be posting along with this. Just to basically sum it up, the meet went exactly how I wanted it to go. I'm very happy and very surprised that it went out the way it did. My only goal coming into this meet was to get through it and not get hurt and put up some decent numbers in the process. Going into this, I probably started training in mid-September. My original plan was to start training for it in August, but the day right before August 1st, I hurt my back again, and that sent me back until probably mid-September is when I actually started training for it. So I started training mid-September for the competition, and the competition was in November, so, do the math. That's not a whole lot of time to give to a meet or set aside to a meet. So my only major goal was to get to the competition and have a decent day and not get hurt. Squats went a lot better than I was hoping they would. I basically had to relearn how to squat. I had to relearn how to bench and deadlift as well, but to me, I felt like the hardest thing to relearn how to do was to squat. And to my surprise, everything went a lot better than it had in previous meets. Surprise, surprise, when you do everything the correct way, it's easier, it hurts less, it's more efficient. For example, my squats, I started getting to depth. In my mind, it felt like half the time I got to depth because I wasn't wasting a whole lot of motion doing everything wrong. So I opened with 950, I believe, which was very conservative. And rookie mistake, it was a lot harder than it needed to be because the rack was too low and I didn't say anything. So I had to expend a lot more energy squatting the weight out. And it made the squat, it just took a little more energy out of me than what it should have. And second attempt was 10:30, 10:40, I think it was 10:30. And again, stupid rookie mistake. I had actually asked for the rack height to be changed, and it wasn't. It's really nobody's fault. It's on me when I realized that it's too low again, that I should have just racked it or not even unracked it in the first place, and I should have just had them raise it. But I didn't. Heat of the moment, I just wanted to get on it and going. And same as the first, it was a lot harder than it needed to be. I hit it, but it was a lot slower and a lot more of a grind than it should have been. At that point, I wasn't too confident on where my squats would go from that point. Both my coach Shane and Christian were telling me that I had a lot of room to spare, that we were going well below depth. Kathy always calls my depth, and I trust her 100%. I would rather go too deep than not deep enough. But they had convinced us that we had some room to spare. So Kathy agreed to call me a little higher than she normally would. But the problem was, she called me a little higher than she had been, on top of the fact that I beat her up call. But getting up to the bar, the rack height, my friends who were there helping me made sure, like they were waiting by the rack to make sure that it was at the correct height. It was at the correct height. Third attempt was 1060, and the unrack was easy. It was flawless. It didn't feel like anything on the bar. So we started out at a good point. Started out good right away. And as I was descending down, we had done the straps tighter than I normally do. I had Christian wrap for me, and that was ridiculous. So tighter wraps, tighter straps equals more pressure in your head. So about halfway down, my hearing and my vision, everything just kind of went blurry, and I couldn't hear very well. Everything was just muffled, and on Kathy's last back before she was going to say up. On her last back, I thought that was up, so I squatted on her last back. So I beat her command. So not only did she call me a little higher, but then I beat the call that was a little higher than before. So it wasn't grossly high. I mean, if you look at it from the front, you're like, it could go either way. But I'm not upset by the call at all. I'd rather have them not give me something that later on I would be upset that I got. But I smoked it. It was my easiest one. You know, it was 1060, my third attempt, and it was my easiest one. So I was happy. No residual pain after that. Move on to bench. Warm-ups went awesome. I opened with 705, and I was struggling with bar speed. So my opener took a long time to touch, took a lot out of me. Second attempt was 750, and because of my inability to train the right way through this whole thing, I had no gas tank. Training with Shane, training conjugate, my gas tank used to be unlimited. At this meet, it was not. So about halfway down, on top of being stupid and having really poor bar speed on the way down, which, you know, in my mind, another rookie mistake. So by the time I actually got to touch, I was out of breath. I couldn't hold my breath anymore. Like, I just blew my air out, and once you do that, you blow all your strength out, and I couldn't finish it. So third attempt, retook 750. On this one, I made sure that I got set up properly. I made sure everything was perfect. I believe I took a smaller breath. Not a small breath, I took a smaller breath. The first two, I was taking a huge breath. I don't know if there's any science to why that would help me to take a smaller breath, but I took a smaller breath, and on top of that, I actually attacked the bar. My descent was faster to my touch. Shocker, I touched in about half the time, and the press was easy. It came off my chest really fast. Fast for me. And locked it out. I honestly feel like if I would have attacked my opener in my second attempt, that 800 pounds could have been a reality on my third attempt. But the goal was not to chase PRs or anything like that. 750 is 33 pounds off my best, so coming into a competition only wearing my shirt twice, I believe, only shirting up twice to get 33 pounds from my PR, was very happy about that. Deadlift is probably what had me the most scared on meet day. I feel like deadlift put me in a position to where, in my mind, that was the easiest for me to hurt myself. Deadlift, I'm usually an emotional deadlifter. That being said, deadlift is usually the lift where, when I say emotional, I mean like I just try to get as angry and as intense as possible, and sometimes that's not the best for remembering your form and your technique, because you get caught up in the moment and you just get really angry and you try to use anger and aggression. Sometimes you put yourself in a position to where you forget about your technique. Usually in those cases, you should have enough work done in training to where your technique is going to come naturally to where you don't have to think about it. But I hadn't had much deadlifting through this whole thing, so it was a lift that I was the most nervous about, because I was almost through the meet's almost done. I did not want to push deadlifts because I did not want to hurt myself. If I would have got through that whole meet and then hurt myself on deadlift because I was trying to be stupid and trying to get after it, that would have been a long ride home, probably a long couple months. Just mentally, it would not have been good, because, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel right now. So I found a way out from this chronic back injury, and I feel like I've got light at the end of the tunnel. So Shane and Christian had a lot of confidence in me. Not that I didn't have confidence in myself, but I didn't see the point of pushing my deadlift. The benefit to risk ratio in my mind wasn't there. But Shane and Christian knew that I was strong enough, and they wanted me to push deadlift, so I could prove to myself that I am strong. I am starting to get past this, that I should not be scared of hurting myself or re-aggravating my injury. This was not a careless call on their part. They weren't trying to make me go above and beyond. They wanted me to go above where I was mentally comfortable with, but that does not mean that they were wrong. That just means that they wanted me to confront this and prove to myself that I was strong enough to get through this. I opened really low, 675. It was easy. And then I went to 675 was my opener. Then I went to 720, 730. And as is with most of my deadlifts in competition, they get easier as I go through my attempts, because A, you get that first one in as confidence booster, and B, the more weight that you get on the bar, the more that I can pull the slack out of it, the better position I can get into. So 720 was easier than the opener, and I would have been fine stopping, or maybe trying 750 and stopping, but they really wanted me to hit at least 8. It took a little debating in my mind back and forth if I felt like it was worth it. But I trust both of them very much. So I decided to go with it. And at that point, I just took all doubt and all fear, and I just kind of put it in the back burner, because I know that if I was scared of it, or if I had doubt, that I would probably do it wrong and probably hurt myself. So for that last lift, I just put all fear and all doubt aside, and I just punched in, knew what I had to do, made sure my technique and my bracing was flawless, and the 800 was easier than the 720, 730. To say that I could have had a PR that day might have been a stretch, but I probably could have got damn close to hitting a PR on my deadlift as well. So that being said, that was my first multiply meet since last July. It was my first meet since last September. So at the least, it was my first meet in a year, first multiply meet in about a year and a half. I ended up hitting my third highest total, which I was not expecting, and had I hit that squat, which the weight wasn't a problem, had I just not beat Kathy's call, that would have put me my second highest total ever. So to spend a whole year getting hurt off and on, not training as much as I could have, relearning how to squat, bench, and deadlift, relearning how to brace, to come back and hitting my third highest total. Realistically, my second highest total had that, 1060 counted. That gives me a lot of hope moving forward. And I would not say that I hurt myself at this meet. I would say that I absolutely pushed it to the point where it was damn close. I was definitely pretty sore and pretty tender for the next 3, 4, 5 days afterwards. But it's not that I hurt myself, but we pushed it. And we didn't have a whole lot of room to spare. So that being said, everything went as well as I could have expected it to. I have no idea where I'm going from here. I definitely feel like I need to give my back probably another good couple more months to get it back to where it needs to be. My chiropractor, Chris Doctor, had told me that realistically, this wasn't probably the best thing to do, getting a disc to heal properly. He said it takes about 18 months for 18 months. Yeah. I believe that's what he said, 18 months. 18 months for a disc to properly reform, reshape, heal everything back to 100%. But that's, if you're a person who's not pushing yourself in athletics and you're just trying to get your disc back to normal. So it's still in the healing process. There's still a chance for me to fuck it up again if I'm dumb about it. So I think I'll take the rest of the year to make sure that that's where it needs to be. And as far as meets, I don't really know what's around next year that I could do. I think Shane had said that in April they might be having a meet, so that would be a realistic time frame for me to jump into a meet. But yeah, that would be my competition recap. Everything went off as it should have, and I'm very happy with the results, and looking forward to climbing back up that hill.